Good morning. God bless
Le
all of
bendiga
you.
mucho, mucho.
God bless you so,
A los que
so,
están
so much.
escuchando, los que están entrando a las redes,
Those who are joining us
pedimos
live,
que estén pendientes.
just
Dios tiene algo para
because
tu vida.
God
Dios
has
tiene
something
algo
for your life,
en esta mañana
God has something for you this morning.
impresionante
Something that is going to
para
be
tu corazón, para tu
awesome
vida,
for your life,
sobre
for
todo
your
para
heart,
tu
and for your
alma.
family.
Oramos para comenzar
Let us
este
pray
servicio hermoso.
as we begin our beautiful service today to our Lord this beautiful
Padre
Sunday.
nuestro que estás en los cielos,
Our Father who is in heaven,
te damos
we give
gracias
thanks to you
por esta mañana,
for this beautiful morning,
por la noche que nos diste,
for the
Señor,
night
esa
that you
ese
gave
placer
us
de dormir y
through we were
descansar,
able to
Señor.
rest, Lord God.
Y nos diste la oportunidad
And
de
you gave us the
despertarnos,
opportunity
Señor.
to wake up,
Bien.
Lord, also.
Gracias,
Thank you,
Jesucristo.
Jesus Christ.
Te pedimos, Espíritu
We
Santo,
ask
que
you,
tú te
Holy
muevas de
Spirit,
manera
that you will
especial
move in
en
a
esta casa,
special way
ahí en las redes, por medio
there
de
on
las redes
social
sociales, Señor.
media,
Al que escuche, al oyente,
those that
Señor.
hear us.
Te pedimos que salves
We
vidas.
ask you, Heavenly Father,
Que
that you
salve
may
las
save
almas,
their
Señor.
lives, that you may
Te
save the
pedimos que tu
souls.
Espíritu
We ask
Santo
you that your
rompa
Holy Spirit
toda
will
cadena
break all the
en el nombre
chains in
poderoso
the
de
mighty
Jesús,
name of
Señor.
Jesus, Lord God.
Te damos gracias
We
por
give
tu
thanks to you
presencia.
for your
Gracias,
presence.
Señor, porque tú nos haces
Thank you, Lord,
libres.
because you make us
Y
free.
hoy
And
somos
today
libres
we are
para
free
adorarte,
to
Señor.
worship you.
Gracias, Señor. Gracias,
Thank you,
Señor,
Lord.
porque la iglesia
Thank
en
you,
el
Lord,
mundo
because the church in the
todavía es
world
libre para
is still
adorarte,
free
para
to worship
bendecirte,
you
Señor.
and to bless your name.
Aunque sea desde nuestras
Even
casas,
though it may be from
aunque
our
sea
homes,
desde un
even
rincón
though
de
it may
nuestro
be
hogar, Señor,
from the
te
corner of our home,
adoramos y
we worship
bendecimos y
you and we
declaramos
bless
que
you
tú eres
and we
Dios.
declare that you are God.
Dios más poderoso,
That
Dios
you are
grande,
a
Dios
mighty God, a
poderoso.
great God.
Nombre sobre todo
You are the
nombre.
name above all names.
Nombre sobre la
Name
enfermedad.
above the
Nombre
illness.
sobre la depresión.
Name above
Nombre
depression.
sobre todo
Name
nombre. Y ese
above all
nombre es
name, and that name is
Jesucristo,
Jesus
Señor.
Christ.
Gracias, Señor.
Thank you, Lord.
En el nombre de Jesús.
In the name of Jesus.
Amén y amén.
Amen.
Dios le bendiga.
Amen. God bless you.
Aquí estás, debemos mover, te adoraré. Aquí estás, obrando en mí, te adoraré. Te adoraré. Aquí estás, debemos mover. Te adoraré, te adoraré. Aquí estás, obrando en mí. Te adoraré, te adoraré. Y te llamamos milagroso, abres camino, cumples promesas, luz en tinieblas, mi Dios, así eres tú. Milagroso, abres camino, cumples promesas, luz en tinieblas, mi Dios, así eres tú. Milagroso, abres camino, cumples promesas, luz en tinieblas, mi Dios, así eres tú, y 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 así eres tú. So we call him Waymaker, miracle worker, promise keeper, light in the darkness, my God, and that is who you are. Oh, we believe it. Waymaker, miracle worker, promise keeper, light in the darkness, my God, and that is who you are, 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 and that is who you are. Even when I don't see your work, even when I can't feel it, you're working. You never stop working. You never stop I don't see it, you're working. Even when I can't feel it, you're working. You never stop working. You never stop working. Aunque no pueda ver, estás sobrando. Aunque no pueda ver, estás sobrando. Siempre estás sobrando. Siempre estás. Aunque no pueda ver, está sobrando. Aunque no pueda ver, está sobrando. Siempre estás sobrando. Siempre estás sobrando. Y siempre estás sobrando. Y siempre estás sobrando. Siempre estás sobrando. Y siempre estás sobrando. You never stop working. You never stop working. You never stop working. You never stop working. Waymaker, miracle worker, promise keeper, light in the darkness, my God, and that is who you are. Wherever you're at, I ask that you sing it with confidence. Waymaker, miracle worker, promise keeper, light in the darkness, my God, and that is who you are. Señor, tú eres milagroso, milagroso. Abres caminos, cumples promesas, luz en tinieblas, mi Dios, y así eres tú, y así eres tú, y así eres tú, y así eres tú, lo creemos, y así eres tú. Y así eres tú, 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 y así eres tú. Y así eres tú. Una vez más, aunque no pueda ver, estás sobrando. Aunque yo no puedo ver, siempre estás sobrando. Y siempre estás sobrando. Aunque no pueda ver, estás sobrando. Aunque no pueda ver, estás sobrando. Tú siempre estás sobrando. Tú siempre estás. Y aunque no pueda ver, estás sobrando. Aunque no pueda ver, estás sobrando. Siempre estás sobrando. siempre estás sobrando, y siempre estás sobrando, y siempre estás sobrando, siempre estás sobrando, y siempre estás sobrando. Milagroso, abres camino, cumples promesas, luz en tinieblas, mi Dios, y así eres tú. Con confianza, milagroso, abres camino, cumples promesas, luz en tinieblas, mi Dios, y así eres tú, y así eres tú, y así eres tú, y así eres tú, y así eres tú. Y así eres tú, y así eres tú, y así eres tú, y así eres tú. Oh, así eres tú, Señor, y nunca cambiarás, Señor. Y nunca cambiará, Señor. Oh, así eres tú. Así eres tú, Señor.
We have the assurance that God, He doesn't change. That God is the same God yesterday, today, and forever. It doesn't matter the situations or the calamities that we are facing. God continues to be in control, and I will be preoccupied or worried when God is worried. And while God is not worried, I will not worry as well, because we know that God has everything under control. During these times, I want to tell you something very important. And before I do that, I want to greet the entire church, the people of God. I'm missing you so much. There's an absence that we feel as I see these seats here being empty. And I know that you are live with me here, listening to God's word. And I want to tell you right now, the IPCC Church, and those are hearing us, this morning as well on social media live. And I want to greet you and hoping and praying that God will reach out to your homes, God would enter into your homes, and that God would take control of your lives and bless your lives. Soon we will receive those good news where we'll be able to gather again together in God's house in church. And we have the hope that we may have the churches open at 12, and we're trusting in God. Maybe even before, it will be great. However, under that submission, as we submit to our leaders here on earth, the laws, here mandates on earth, we had to submit to the law of this world. Yeah, and that's in God's word. We had to submit, and as a church, as a minister, I had to obey those laws that God may bless us. Church, a little bit longer, and we'll be together soon. Let's keep praying, and you're gonna see how God is gonna do an amazing work. There is a hope of freedom. During these times, there was a hope of freedom. And let us go into Lamentations chapter 3. And these chapter, Lamentations chapter 3. Who has been the one that will say something that the Lord has not sent? He who will be the one who says that had something happened that the Lord has not sent. Nothing can move without God's will. Even the trees, it has to be under God's authority. It's Lamentations 3:37. And the prophet Jeremiah, he tells us one of the saddest times in his life and the most discouraging times in his lifetime. And he tells us how he was able to find alleviation in his time of lamentation. During his time of trial, Jeremiah, he thought that the Lord had become really terrible and tough, and that God had won against him. Jeremiah thought that God hated him and detested him from his presence. Now, the prophet begins to say, and he prays to God and say, Lord, remember me. Remember my affliction. Remember my hurt that I'm feeling, God, my affliction. Did Jeremiah the prophet prays to the Lord? Do not forget what is happening in my life. Do not forget and do not ignore that I am under affliction. Do not forget that I am hurting, God. So the prophet Jeremiah, he cries out a calling to God of lamentation and searching for the cure for his hurt, for his lamentation. The word of God says in the book of James, and I really love God's word because the word of God says that the person who is afflicted worship and sing to the Lord, the one who is glad, which means that prayer is the peace that comes to us and brings tranquility to us and cures the wounds. It doesn't matter the pain that you are enduring, that the prayer is that tranquility, that peace, that calmness. It is the remedy for any illness that we experience in our lives. It doesn't matter what happens in your life. I am certain that if you pray to God, then God is going to have open ears to hear your prayer. Our activity in prayer, it is to refer my cause or the cause to the Lord. We should refer our cause to the Lord God and to leave it in His hands. In His other words, to trespass my cause to the Lord so that God may do His will. In the times I go through difficult times in life, but me, in my activity or prayer, I'm going to trespass my prayer, my pain in the hands of God. And the Bible gives us in counsel in 1 Peter chapter 5, verse 7. You're casting all of our anxieties and worries upon Him because He cares for us. And look at what beautiful counsel the Word of God encourages us with for us to cast all of our worries. Pass on your anxieties and worries in the hands of God because He cares for you. And one of the things is that we should be humbly searching for God and for us to be obeying His word. And God will take control of our cause. And I want to repeat this again. These times that we need to fear God. The fear of God does not mean to be afraid of God, but what it means is to have honor, to have reverence to God in His word, and for us to obey His word, because that is what God wants. And then if we do so, God will take control of the situation that we're battling with. And the battle, the faith, let me tell you, and the doubt is really tough. But the believers, even those that are weaker, let's say, they are mistaken if they think that their strength and hope in the Lord is done. There's none. Do not think that way. Even though you may feel weak this moment, you are mistaken in thinking that your hope in the Lord is not there no more. The Word of God says in Isaiah, those who wait on the Lord will have renewed strength. Look at the counsel. Those that wait on the Lord will have renewed strength. Which means that as believers, we have changed our weakness into His power. The Apostle Paul expressed it in that way. That when I am weak, then that is when I am strong. Because the power of God is shown in me and is demonstrated in my weakness. Now let us go back to the prophet Jeremiah and Lamentations chapter 3, verse 31 to 36. When Jeremiah, he felt the anguish in life and temptation, and the prophet demonstrates how he was lifted above the test, the trial, and having him express his pain, his grief. He has experienced the temptation. The prophet Jeremiah teaches us how he was lifted above the test, the trial. And he expresses this, which I love so much, in the midst of the pain, of desperation, of sadness, the calamity that was surrounding him, in the midst of what was happening around the earth, that time in his life. Every morning is new. Look at the expression. Every morning is new. Great is the faithfulness of God to the things that we see that are bad happening around us, and it seems to many that these things are bad, but they're not worse because of the mercy of God. We're seeing things around us daily, a lot of bad things happening, a lot of news that are accelerating and saying that things are gonna get worse. I want to tell you that even though things appear to be bad, the mercy of God is there working in our life. In a world that is in a crisis, the mercy of God is there. And we should observe this. What God does for us, that these things, and what are the things that you and I need to think about? And don't forget that God is with us. The Bible says in Psalms 46, verse 1, He is our fortress and He is our refuge. Do not forget that. Do not forget that in your time of affliction, in your time of sadness, learn to trust in the Lord. Learn that God is next to you. Learn that God has not departed from you or forsaken you in any moment. Even though at times we abandon God, God does not abandon us. God continues to be the God of love, that God who loves us, the God who has mercy upon us. God is there present in this situation that we are going through. He is our refuge. He is our fortress. He is, our protection. The mercy of God does not fail us. No, 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 no. The mercy of God does not fail us. And we have examples in Scripture that every morning that we have in our lives are new for us. It doesn't matter the situation that you are going through. Let me tell you that every morning is a fresh new morning for us. Now, what is it that we should do? What we should do, it should be our comfort and our satisfaction in having the hope and waiting in silence and stillness in the Lord and the salvation of the Lord. And I'm going to ask that question again. What is it that we should be doing? What we should be doing, and it should be our comfort and satisfaction in having the hope and hoping in God and the stillness and silence. And it doesn't matter how the situation around us appears to be, God has everything under His control. It doesn't matter how things are being seen around us. I want to tell you once again that God has everything under His control. Lamentations chapter 3, verse 33. For He does not willingly bring affliction or grief to anyone. And under this situation, there is a purpose from God. Nothing is moved or is allowed without the purpose of God, because God has a purpose. In the midst of these situations, these calamities that we are experiencing, there is a great purpose in the life of every life. God is doing and God is working. We may not see Him visibly, but visibly we know that the hand of God is operating miracles in our lives. Amen. The affliction will work for the good. I want to listen to this. Many people have found, and having carried the yoke of their youth during the time when the affliction came in their youth, because many people have grown to be humble. Afflictions and the yoke or the weight of affliction makes people to be humble, and separating themselves from the corrupt world, if it hasn't been for that yoke that God has placed in our lives, or that affliction that God has placed upon us, then we have been prideful, arrogant, and we have been in a more difficult situation. And thanks be to God for these situations that happen. They cause us to grow closer to God. They cause us for us to be more humble. That allows us to be more sensible to the Holy Spirit, be guided by the Holy Spirit, and more manageable by God. And from their youth, if the affliction produces patience, then patience, tests and test brings hope, and it does not put us to shame in any moment. Now we are convinced, under an adequate thought, in our sin and our way of living, that we have not been consumed, by the mercy of God. And I want to tell you something. One thing that you and I need to think about, that it is a thought that is inadequate thought that has our minds and thinking that we have not been consumed by the mercy of God. And we can say, without, that our Lord, is our portion, that we should receive that portion as if it's coming from God's hand, because behind all of this there is a great purpose, that the mankind laments from their affliction. Why is it that we lament from our affliction when we should feel repenting because we have offended God and we have transgressed against God? And why people are lamenting these afflictions that have come to our lives unexpectedly? And why do we cry so much in that affliction? There is a crying because we have offended God. We need to repent before God. And I always tell you this, from the moment that I give you the message, people of God, we need to return to God. People of God, we need to come back to God. Why are we complaining about the afflictions? Why are we complaining when we should be, we're complaining about the situations that of our sin? We should be complaining about that instead. That we have offended God. While there is life, there is hope. And instead of, in place of complaining about the things that are bad, or we should move us or stimulate one another with the hope that things are gonna be better. And I want to repeat this again. Why are we complaining? Well, there is life, there is hope. And instead of complaining about the situations that we are facing, why shouldn't we instead stimulate one another with the hope that things will be better? We have all sinned. Hear this. We have all sinned, and those that complain, when we complain, it's less what we deserve because of our sin. So let me put it in this way. We are complaining about the pain, about the circumstance, we're complaining about this plague, this pandemic that we are facing over the face of the earth. But let me tell you something. We deserve even more than this because of sin. The Bible says the payment of sin is death, which means that this is nothing. This is nothing compared. God is going to judge us because of sin. A time of calamity has caused us to reflect, and this happens in many people's lives. And hey, man, let me tell you that we to blame others, and at times we point our finger at other people, and and people, we point our finger at the president, or China, or different places, and we want to point our finger and blame people because of this situation. We want to blame the leaders, we want to blame the nations, we want to blame the world and everyone because of what is happening. But what we should do is to search our ways, our hearts, and examine our ways to have a life that is upright before God. We're not to point our finger or who is to blame for what is happening. We should search ourselves, or we should search our ways so that we may separate from evil and turn back to God. Pointing our fingers at people and playing the blame game is not going to get anything done. or solution. But returning back to God, you're going to find a solution. If you turn back to God, then God is going to have a solution for your dilemma. We have rebelled. We are disloyal to God. And these does not agree. The internal and the external impressions that we get about what's happening, then we are deceiving God. We are, deceiving ourselves. And sadly, what is happening right now is a repentance that is artificial. We come and we repent so that God may heal our wounds, that God may heal our hurt. But our internal impressions, if they're not in agreement with the external impressions, then what we're doing is mocking God. We are deceiving ourselves. Lamentations chapter 3, verse 40, the word of God tells us, let us examine our ways and test them, and let us return to the Lord. I believe that it's time. I believe that it is the moment in our life for us to do a spiritual searching in our heart so that we can turn back to God, obey His word, and we can have a sincere transformation of the heart. And I'm going to repeat this in case you missed that. We are in the time to do is a spiritual examining and searching our hearts that cause us to obey the Lord, obey His word, and have a sincere transformation of the heart. The promise is this, that if we do that God will hear us and God will heal us. And the Bible says in Lamentation chapter 3 verse 41, let us lift up our hearts and our hands to God in heaven and say, we have sinned and rebelled, and you have not forgiven. Hear this. Faith comes as conquering, because Jeremiah and his comfort, and we see that Jeremiah begins to complain that God has abandoned him, etc., etc. But when he comes into reasoning, he comes back to himself and he understands. We see in Lamentations 3, I invoke your name, O Lord God, for the deep pit. In verse 56, heard my voice. Do not hide, your ear to my supplication. You came near when I called you, and you said, do not fear. In the middle of the complaint that he expressed to God in the midst of his affliction, his anguish, then God responds to him. A loving response. Jeremiah, do not fear. Do not fear. That is the prayer. Prayer is the encouragement of man. When we pray, what we do is we are inhaling the breath of the mercy of God. We are inhaling the breath of the mercy of God in the petitions that we have before Him. And you exhale it worship and praise. And you maintain that spiritual life. What does this mean? That when we pray to God in that lamentation and that crying out and that trial over your life, we inhale the mercy of God into our lives. When we worship God, when we praise God, we show an external showing of gratitude. Worship is an exhalation, an exhaling of the test, the proof that God is keeping us alive. Listen to this. The silence of your fears activated his spirit and told me, Jeremiah speaking, God is moving us into fears. And his spirit told me, Jeremiah, do not fear. And this is the language of the grace of God. And I want to tell you who is watching me today, this is the language of the grace of God for the testimony of His Spirit, your spirit. This is the language that comforts you. This is the language that in spite of the adverse and sad situations that you are experiencing, and perhaps this virus has has touched your body, and you are at home, and you are in the hospital sick, God is telling you, do not fear. And that is the language of the grace of God. That you are still in grace with God. God has not abandoned you. God has not forsaken you. And He testifies that you are a child of God. The promise is this, that my God frees His people from any problem. And He revives, He relieves His people from any persecution. Church of God, under the situations and persecutions that we are facing. But God is going to free us from all of this. There is hope and freedom. In Isaiah chapter 10, do not fear, because I am with you. Do not be dismayed, because I am your God, who gives you strength. I will always aid you. I will always sustain you with the righteousness. And I'm going to repeat it again, in case you did not hear me. The Bible tells me, do not fear because I am with you. Do not be dismayed because I am your God that gives you strength. I will always help you. I will always sustain you with my righteousness. How beautiful is that, right? God speaks to us with tender love. We know that God is going to correct sin. We know that God is not that He's angry, but God is bothered by this. Because if God would have been angry, He would have consumed and destroyed the earth. God is not, He's upset at the situation that is happening around the earth. And in all of this, even though all of this is happening, God is telling you, do not fear, because I am with you, but I am present. I'm not only, at hand's reach, but I am also present next to you. If I ask you, are you weak? God will strengthen you. Are you alone? God is next to you to help you. Are you about to fall down and give up? He's going to hold you up. He's going to sustain you with His righteousness. Because God has a plan. He would allow you to turn back. The plan of God is that He will allow you to turn back so that you are an instrument of honor. That He will cause you to turn back to Him. That is God's plan. That He's going to sharpen you and refine you as a vessel of clay. And He's going to, as you are walking through the desert, there is a change that's going to happen in your life. You're going to be stronger. When you come out of this, you're going to be stronger. You are going through the desert. There's going to be a change in you. You are going to be stronger. And God is going to cause you for your sterileness to be a person who is fruitful, so that you may give testimony and witness to those that see you. The person who is the most sterile will be fruitful in God. And God would allow your soul to be uplifted so that you may speak to others and witness to other people around you about the grace of God, that God has been with you through all of this. And God expressed these words, Isaiah, and your Creator, the God of heaven, those who understand you, and extends the vastness of the earth and the fruit He gives, who gives encouragement and spirit to those who walk. I, the Lord, call you in righteousness. I will sustain you with my hand, and I will keep you, and I put you as a covenant and light to the nations, so that you may open up the eyes of the blind, and you may take out the prisoners, and you bring blessing to those that dwell in darkness. What a calling from God to His church, to the people of God, to come out of their homes, so that we may be light, so that we may take the message of the gospel to those who are in shackles, are bound in the prisons and in their homes, that we will be the way or blessing for those that hear us. Please, the goodwill of God towards His people brings abundant comfort to all the believers, new creation, and to all the redeemed by the blood of His Son Jesus Christ, to say, those who have God for them do not fear Who is going to battle against him? God is with us. And if God is with us, who against us? What are the afflictions and the illnesses? And that is a great question. And to define affliction and to define plague, there's no comparison with the power of Christ. God has power over the illness. God has power over what is happening. And God is telling you this morning, do not fear, because I have redeemed you. I have given you a name. You are mine. Those who are hearing me right now, say this. I belong to God. I am God's. I am a child of God. God has redeemed me. God has purchased me with a price of blood. God had shed his blood for me at the cross of Calvary, and I consider myself to be called a child of God. And that is why I am not afraid, even though the earth is shaken, and the rivers will rise and surge. The Lord my God is with me, and he will not forsake me in any moment. And when you go to times of affliction, you will not be destroyed because God is with you. You're highly regarded and you're admirable. He loves you. You are the object of his great love, says the word of God. And as a true believer, if it is who we are, and we got to put that in parentheses. You are beautiful. You are precious in God's sight. His complacence, that he is his pleasure, that he's with you in any situation. And even though you may go through the high waters and the fire, you should not fear no evil. You will be uplifted and you will be healed of your affliction. The psalmist expressed in Psalms 41 verse 8. I will Psalms 48. You go to bed in peace, and I will wake up the same way, because only you, O Lord, makes me allows me to live secured. And the psalmist did not just left it there. He expressed these words, but you, O Lord, are my shield around me, my glory, the one who lifts up my head. With my voice I cried out to God, and he responded to me from his holy mountain. To have the assurance that God will respond, and sincerely, we shall make every effort to live a pious life. And Romans 5:29. There's distance from God for those who live a life of immorality. But let me tell you, for the righteous, Proverbs 15:29. There's distance for those who are far from God. But for those that live in God, there's the righteousness. They'll be righteous of God will hear them, and he will hear their prayer. And those who give themselves faithfully to God will not be forsaken. God will take them as his possession, because they belong to God, as his protector and the provider of their life. The Bible counsels us to grow near to God, grow close to God with a sincere heart before God. Listen to this. Even in the difficult time of suffering, even though we may be in a very bitter situation that we are going through, even though we feel mistreated, I want to let you know that God is working through all that situation that you're going through. And even in your situation, in your pain and suffering, and perhaps the doctors have told you there is no hope, and the virus has come to your house, to your life, and they said there's not going to be any improvement for you, no cure for you. I want to tell you, in your suffering, in your difficult, even though you are in your bitter situation, a time of bitterness and pain, and you feel mistreated, the child of God should know that God is working in the middle of that situation. And I want to tell you that God has everything under control. And indirectly, it may be that your situation may be changed, but let me tell you something. God guarantees good results. at the end of all of this. It may be that God may not be working directly, or maybe He may be working indirectly, but there is a result of guarantee that everything is going to come out good, so that you may attain a greater level of maturity in your life, and you may know the purposes for you have been born. And we know that Romans chapter 8, we know that for those who love God, everything works out for the good. That is for those who, according to His purpose, have been called. And even in the midst of what is happening to you, there is a joy, there is a peace, there is a conviction. Even though in everything that is happening, even though in a situation that you're going through in your life personally, there is a joy, there is a peace, there is a conviction that there's victory in the Lord. And the word of God says that in the world you will have affliction, but know that I have overcome the world. The Bible says, many are the affliction of the just, but from all of them the Lord will free them. And I want to finish with these words. God has established that through many tribulations or afflictions, those that serve, that follow Christ, that they are, always the promise that God will free you from the destruction and pestilence, and there is assurance for those that they turn themselves into God's protection and protection. And we know that we should always remain and persist in the presence of God. He who abides under abide under the shadow of the omnipotent, and be able to search for God in the midst of any situation. Father God, there are lives in the homes right now, lives that are giving their lives to you. There are lives right now that are on their knees, and they have their eyes closed, and they're giving their lives back to you. Let them know right now that you love them. Let them know that you have not forgotten them, that you have not abandoned them. Let them know, God, and the desire in their lives, and your desire is for them to turn back to you so that they can be under your protection. And let them know, God, that you are there. You are available to them right now. And you bring them to you, God. Let them know, God, that at the end of all this that is happening, we are going to be better. Things are going to be good. Friend who has heard me today, you don't have a church where to attend. We're here for you. You don't have a church to attend. You have a church. We respect you. But we are in 711 4th Street here in West Liberty, Iowa. We want you to come and reconcile. As a church family, we wait for you here. Continue to worship God. I want to tell you, the Lord bless you and keep you. The Lord let His face shine upon you and have mercy upon you. The Lord show His face before you and place peace in you. You will invoke the name of your God upon your life and family, and the Lord is going to bless you. Let us sing to the Lord.
Dios siempre tiene el control. ¿Por qué desesperarme? Dios siempre tiene el control. ¿Por qué atemorizarme? Oh, Dios siempre tiene el control. ¿Por qué cuestionarle? Y aunque no entiendas lo que sucede, yo vivo tranquilo, yo vivo en paz, porque Dios siempre tiene el control y soy bendecido, yo duermo tranquilo, yo vivo en